Welcome to Adult ypww. Lesson 13. I do not own the rights to this music. Today's lesson text is coming out of 1 Samuel chapter 30, verses 21 through 26. Today's topic is Don't Be Stingy. 1 Samuel chapter 30, verses 21 through 26. And David came to the 200 men, which were so faint that they could not follow David, whom they had made also to abide at the brook Besor. And they went forth to meet David, and to meet the people that were with him. And when David came near to the people, he saluted them. Then answered all the wicked men and men of Belial, of those that went with David, and said, Because they went not with us, we will not give them aught of the spoil that we have recovered, save to every man his wife and his children, that they may lead them away and depart. Then said David, Ye shall not do so, my brethren, with that which the Lord hath given us, who hath preserved us, and delivered the company that came against us into our hand. For who will hearken unto you in this matter? But as his part is that goeth down to the battle, so shall his part be that tarrieth by the stuff. They shall part alike. And it was so from that day forward, that he made it a statute and an ordinance for Israel unto this day. And when David came to Ziklag, he sent of the spoil unto the elders of Judah, even to his friends, saying, Behold, a present for you of the spoil of the enemies of the Lord. The lesson aim. The aim of this lesson is to show how you can overcome discouragement by simply being generous as opposed to being stingy. The memory verse. I will read the King James Version first and then the Amplified Version of Galatians chapter 6, verse 10. As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith. The New International Version of Galatians chapter 6, verse 10. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. The introduction says, when you are discouraged, you don't feel like doing certain things. You may not feel like sharing your thoughts or feelings with others. You may not feel like sharing your time, effort, and energy with people. You may not feel like sharing your financial blessings either. This is how David's fellow soldiers were after they had pursued, overtaken, and recovered all that the enemy had stolen from them. Their unanimous victory brought them the spoils of war, but they did not want to share those spoils with their fellow soldiers who were left behind to guard the city. However, David did not allow them to succumb to such stinginess. He made them share the overflow with their brothers, who were too weak and tired to join them in the battle. In fact, he made sure they all got an even split. The discussion says, Are you discouraged? If you are probably feeling down. Well, there is nothing that can lift you like the spirit of generosity. Acts chapter 20, verse 35 lets us know that it is more blessed to give than it is to receive. David and his men were discouraged because they had suffered a great loss. The way to deal with this loss was not to become hoarders or misers. It was to become generous. It was to become givers, not takers. Stinginess can be very detrimental. It can cause you to suffer even more loss. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 24 says, There is that scattereth, and yet increaseth, and there is that withholdeth more than is meet, but it tendeth to poverty. This suggests that stinginess can bring a curse of poverty on you. The application says, Giving is the nature of God. For God so loved the world that he gave. That's John chapter 3, verse 16. In like manner, we should so love people that we give to them, not hold back. God does not hold back on us. And that's Psalms chapter 84, verse 11. So why should we hold back on others? The wise man Solomon is very clear on this issue. He says in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 27, "Withhold not good from them to whom it is due, when it is in the power of thine hand to do it." The Apostle Paul affirms this principle of giving in Galatians chapter 6, verse 10. "As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith." Let us be good and do good. Let us give good. When God blesses us, let's make sure we are a blessing to others. This means being willing to share our material and financial blessings with others, including those we may be tempted to feel are undeserving. The lesson illustration. You remember the story of Scrooge, based on the Charles Dickens book, A Christmas Carol. If there ever was a character who was stingy, it was the miserly Mr. Scrooge. But the good news is that at the end of the story, Scrooge is converted. It took some time. He had to have a supernatural experience where he visited Christmas past, present, and future. His eyes had to be opened to the possible horrible outcome of his tight-fisted, penny-pinching ways. But voila, overnight, he was transformed from a mean old grump to a jolly good fellow. On Christmas morn, he awakened with joy and love in his heart and treated his family as well as the Cratchit family with kindness, compassion, and generosity. God still loves a cheerful giver. Let him come into your life and change you from the inside out. If Scrooge could get converted, perhaps your checkbook, wallet, and purse can get converted as well. May the spirit of stinginess be converted to a spirit of generosity in your life, especially when it comes to showing goodwill to those of the household of faith. The questions for today's lesson. In the New Testament, the Apostle Paul does not insinuate, but emphatically states that if a man does not work, he should not eat. And that's 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 10. What we read in our lesson text seems to contradict that notion. You can study the scriptures on your own. Question 1. How do you explain the apparent contradiction? Question 2. There is a blessing in giving. It makes you feel good, but have you ever given as a way to cheer yourself up or to feel better? Question 3. It has been said that charity begins at home. Do you believe that? And do you believe that we should give to members of the household of faith before we give to people in need outside the church? The end. God bless you, and thank you for joining me today.